or on Facebook Live, welcome. Glad you're here. Sorry we're about 3 minutes late, but we were doing something a little different. We were having a little song here a minute ago, Rough Side of the Mountain. And I believe everybody here and online have been on that rough side of the mountain. Amen. That's called life. Amen. Amen. And so sometimes, if we can just keep our faith as we go along, we can reach and hold somebody's hand. So I want to welcome you. And for the past month, maybe a little over a month, we've been talking about relationships. And we've been talking about your personal relationship with Jesus Christ and developing that relationship. Hopefully all of us already have that relationship, or if you haven't, you're looking for and close to finding that relationship. And you've started to, if you haven't already, made a decision to turn your life around. To start to give some things up. Some of your old behaviors. Some of the control that you try to hold on to tenaciously. And you're going to have to develop that relationship. And it's essential if you want to begin this journey called recovery. Your recovery is made up of many parts. There's a lot of parts to it. It's not, I wish we could flip a switch and that would just be it. Just make that decision. I want to change, and it'd be that easy. It's not quite that easy, is it, folks? Not that easy. But here's the deal. You don't have to walk that journey alone anymore. That's what we've been talking about in the last month. Building a relationship. Giving up your own will and turning your life over to a higher power. But we live here on earth, don't we? And yes, God can walk with us. If you went outside today, if you are in beautiful East Tennessee and you were outside today and you don't know that there's a God, you need to come up here. You need to talk a little bit, because I'm telling you, how beautiful was it today? And God blessed us with that, and I think we're going to have that the rest of the week. Really looking forward to that. Our speaker tonight was going to be a husband and wife team, but he's feeling a little under the weather. So like in most, as I said to the crew here a little earlier, once again, the women are carrying us guys. And that's okay, because we're used to it if we're a guy. If you're trying to start this walk of recovery, yes, you got to turn your life over to your higher power. But you also need somebody here each day to help hold you accountable. I don't care what you call it. You can call it a sponsor, you can call it an accountability partner, you can call it a spiritual guide, call it whatever you want to call it. Tonight, Suzy MacDonald is going to come, and she's going to share from her life, from her experiences as a sponsor. And she's going to talk with us here and with you. For those of you who are just starting, or you've been in that journey of recovery and you've gotten to the point where, I think I can still do it. I don't need anybody. I've got this. Okay, when you finally get up off your face and you're ready to quit being in denial and you're ready to ask for help and you're ready to ask for a sponsor, Suzy's going to talk a little bit about that, of what her expectations are going to be of that person that's on the road to recovery. So, I'm tickled to death. Suzy, come up here and share with the folks. Share what God has laid on your heart. And I love that. Because we talked earlier and she said, I don't really know. I'm just going to open my mouth and God's going to speak. So, God, speak on through her.
Hey everybody, I'm Suzy MacDonald, and I'm really nervous. And it'll go away in just a few minutes. It's been a minute since I've done this. Okay, I have no idea what I'm going to say. I'm going to try to stay on topic. I've asked God to help me tonight. August the 6th, I'll be 19 years clean and sober.
Amen.
You know, the guy upstairs, he's the deal, you know. I couldn't do it by myself. When I finally made a decision to turn my life over and do something different, I was really mad at God for a long time. Because of things that happened in my life when I was a little girl. And so I wasn't, God, I heard about God, through my mom and my grandma and stuff. But the way that I was introduced to God was He was watching me, and He knew all the bad crap that I'd done. And He had me in hell on the front row. I didn't grow up with a loving God. I didn't grow up that way. I grew up with hellfire and damnation. You know what I'm saying? So then when I decided to change my life because I had to, I couldn't do it anymore. I went to treatment. They told me that I needed to get a sponsor. And I was willing. By the time I made the decision to change my life, I was willing to do whatever somebody else told me to do. Now, the whole God thing, I wanted to believe, but I just wasn't there yet, right? So God being so big, God's a pretty big dude. And He already knew that I had a hard time.
Yes.
When I feel like this, sometimes it runs down in tears.
That's okay.
He knew that I needed somebody that could hold my hand and walk with me. And so there was this crazy, red-headed chick named Kathy. And I had to, after I got out of treatment, I had to go to aftercare every week. And because of my job, I had to go for 2 years in order to keep my job because I had a Q clearance and stuff, And so there was this red-headed chick named Kathy, and she was really cool, She dressed really cool, and she was funny. And we went outside and was smoking a cigarette, and I said to her, I said, how long do you gotta come here? She said, well, I've been coming here for about 10 years now. And I was like, oh, wow. And she said, some of us are sicker than others. And I said, well, they tell me that I need to have a sponsor. Would you be interested in being my sponsor? And she said, well, I'll be your temporary sponsor. And I was like, well, okay. I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. The reason that I'm telling you this, I want you to know how I was brought up to be a sponsor. Somebody had to teach me how to drink and how to use, And so somebody has to teach me how to turn my life around and be different. It's the same. So Kathy said, I want you to call me every day. And I was like, every day? She's like, yep. And I said, okay. So, I'd pick the phone up and I'd say, hey, Susie. She's like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, well, And in the beginning, I am here to tell y'all, everything was tragic. everything, you know, because I had used for many, many years. And so all that, all the cushion and numbness of using was gone. And now I was raw. I was feeling life on life's terms. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, my Lord. When I first got out of treatment, they had asked me before I left, they said, hey, man, we have this thing called sober living that you're welcome. And I was like, I got a house and a dog and kids and a job. And I just didn't understand why they would even ask me that, you know. And then I went home and I'm clean and sober. And the first week it was great. My kids behaved. Oh my Lord. You know, they did the dishes and I didn't have to ask nobody for nothing. And it was really good. About 2 weeks in, oh my Lord. You know, life was starting to happen to me. The dog was peeing in the floor and I was like flipped out. And, you know, the kids were yelling and screaming at each other. And used to, I would take something to be calm. Now I had to feel all that stuff. And it was really hard to feel in the beginning, you know. So my sponsor, I got off track a minute. Anyways, my sponsor was helping me to deal with life on life terms, daily stuff. I found out where she lived. And I would show up. You know, I'd knock on her door. And I'd be a mess. I'd be crying and stuff, you know. And she'd say, honey, what's wrong? And I was like, what? And then he said, and then, you know, the girls and then the dog. And she would take me by the hand. And she had this beautiful yard. And she'd take me out in her yard. And she said, Susie, honey, do you see that flower bed right here? And I was like, yeah. And she said, I want you to weed it. And I would look at her and I would say, is that going to help me? And she would say, yes. Yes, it will. And so I'd get down there because now at that point, man, I was willing to do what somebody else told me to do because I was desperate. And I'd get down there and I was weeding that garden, and she turned around, and she was going in the house, and I said, hey. She said, Susie, while you down there, honey, talk to your Creator. While you're on your knees, talk to your Creator. And just left me there, right? And I would go back, and she'd get me by the hand. Take me out to the next flower bed. You know, she had a great looking yard. It was the best yard on the block. Anyways, Kathy, really and truly, I owe so much to her. She's still in my life today. She introduced me to a loving, kind God. She shared with me her life and things that she went through and made it through clean and sober. And she's like, hey man, if that worked for me, it might work for you, you know? And I would call her up because I'd have something big going on. And she would say, have you prayed about it? And I was like, It's the last thing I do every single time. I'll write about it. I'll talk about it. I'll complain about it. And then finally, when the pain gets deep enough, then that's when I'm going to reach out and talk to God. Hey, man, you remember me? You know? So, when somebody asks me to sponsor them, I always say yes, because that's what I've been taught to do. And I do the same thing. I use the 12 steps. And Kathy said there's 12 months, there's 12 steps. We're going to shoot to work on 1 step per month. And of course, 1, 2, and 3 are going to go pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
It's that number 4 that makes you drag, man, trying to get it all on paper and then to sit down and tell another human being everything that you've done and everything that you haven't done and invite God into that conversation. And you're set free, So we get back on topic. What I expect from a sponsee: to call me every day, to stay clean and sober, to read the literature, and to go to meetings. Build a network of people that you can call, and you need to do that when things are good. Because I can tell you, my little circle of women, and by the way, women work with women, and men work with men, because we need you on your feet, not on your back. That's what I was told. That's what I was told. So the women in my circle, they know me. I can call them and they can tell by the tone of my voice if something's wrong with me. The reason why when you first start building your network, I had to call 3 women a day. And that's what I do with my sponsees. When they first come in, I'm like, hey man, I want you to call 3 women a day. And I want you to mix it up. It can't be the same women every day. And they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, yeah, no. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to do to change your life? Because all I know is if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep getting what you got. So to get something different, you got to do something different kind of deal, Sometimes that's really hard. So, I don't know. There's something in my head that tells me I'm supposed to be perfect. I call that little man, pardon me, I call that little man that lives in my head, I call him Slick, because he tells me crap that's not true all the time. He tells me I'm not good enough. He tells me that I'm not loved and I'm not worthy. I've been doing this for a minute and I know those are lies. Doesn't mean he shuts up. It's still there. I just know, not every time, but a lot of the time. I know when it's Slick talking, So, I don't know. I guess that's all. Call me every day and read the stuff and go to meetings and ask God for help and get you a circle of women. And then the dudes, y'all need a circle too. Y'all need to be over there. But anyways, that's all.
Thank you.
What do you think? She's good enough. She's worthy. And Suzy, it took work. It didn't happen overnight. She talked about, and we try to tie things back to the principles. And that's where we are. We've spent a month or more doing those first 3 steps that are really, really, as she said, pretty quick, pretty simple, more simple than others. You get to a point where you say, I've had enough. I want to surrender. I can't do it anymore. I'm tired of being in control. I'm tired of being in denial. Now, when you've done this, as long as some of us have done this, you get to that point that you're ready for that. Yes, I see those heads shaking. That's enough's enough. But then the work starts. I know you want to change. There's not a one of us in here or out there that don't want to be different. But it takes work. And that's where this starts. And this is what we're talking about here in Principle 4. Openly, not behind closed doors, not just holding it to yourself, not hiding it behind the mask that we've been using all along, but openly examine and confess your faults to yourself. That's hard in itself because we lie to ourselves constantly. But not only to yourself, but to God, to your Creator. Now, if you call Suzy, I bet you she's got a pretty landscape too. She's probably got some knee pads for you. But I live on a farm, so guys, I'm telling you, I got some work for you. We'll talk to Jesus down on 16 acres right out the road here. To God and to somebody you trust. And that's a circle of friends that we're starting to talk about here, that you're going to pull together. Don't think for 1 second, because I've laughed and I've cried with many of you. Those that try to do it on their own, by themselves, doesn't usually work. You got to have some help. You got to have some people that will love you enough to hold you accountable. And that's all I got to say about that. So, we want you to be with us every week, coming here or being with us online. We'd love for you to come and eat with us and fellowship with us. This crowd here they're a little crazy. I'm going to tell you people out there in Facebook land, but I love them dearly. And I'm getting to know them and love them. And it's fun to sit back and be in the new guy and watch them love one another and lift each other up in the good things and when the bad things happen too. To feel that love and that support for one another. Now, for all of you here and online, Wednesday, we farmers have produced a lot of crops. And all over the world, all over the country. And the restaurants are not serving like they used to. So there's some excess out there. And we have connected here at First Baptist Church and some other churches in the area have connected with some folks up in Maryville, the Farm to Family, I believe is what it's called. So this Wednesday, me and some others will be leaving here early. I had to go last week. It was before daylight almost. He had me out and going. So we're going but we were the first ones there. So we were the first ones there, first ones loaded, first ones back. But we should be, if it's like it was last week, we'll be right here at First Baptist Church Sweetwater around noon to 12:30. Come and get some food. Get a box of food and some milk. And if you know somebody that is in need, there's a lot of need out there right now. So if you're in need, send them. We're able to give 1 box per vehicle because we're trying to spread it around to everybody. So please share this. Not only share what we're doing here online by inviting your friends to view, to share the program, but also share about this food because we want to help one another. We're in a lot of areas of our life need help. We're broken. Sure, we need help there. But we need to eat. Our physical bodies need food as well. So if you know anybody, I want you to come. So thank you all for being with us. We'll see you right back here next Monday night. God bless you. See you then.